Good morning. It's time for our daily dose of good news. Today is March 8th, and we will be reading from Psalm 84. And this psalmist is likely to be writing during the exile because Jerusalem's temple was destroyed in 586 BC, and the psalmist is writing about how they long to return to the temple. So that's something probably many of us can relate to. So here we go. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts. My soul longs, indeed it faints, for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh sing for joy to the living God. Even the sparrow finds a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may lay her young at your altars, O Lord of hosts, my King and my God. Happy are those who live in your house, ever singing your praise. Happy are those whose strength is in you, in whose heart are the highways to Zion. As they go through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The early rain also covers it with pools. They go from strength to strength. The God of gods will be seen in Zion. O Lord God of hosts, hear my prayer. Give ear, O God of Jacob. Behold our shield, O God. Look on the face of your anointed. For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than live in the tents of wickedness. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. God bestows favor and honor. No good thing does the Lord withhold from those who walk uprightly. O Lord of hosts, happy is everyone who trusts in you. Here ends the reading. And often in the Psalms, the very first verse will give an idea, and the second verse will further that idea. And it might be done by reiterating the first verse, or it might be done by comparing the first verse with a metaphor in the second verse that is not similar, as a way of continuing the thought in a different way. Or it may be that the second verse expands the thought of the first verse. And this psalm falls into that last category, that the first verse is written and then the second verse expands it further. So I'm going to read that part again as we highlight the psalmist's desire to return. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts. My soul longs, indeed it faints, for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh sing for joy to the living God. And after about a year, almost, of being in shelter in place often, I think many of us miss church. And when people are returning to church now, part of what we're hearing besides yay is this sense of being soothed. And that's not imaginary. And it's not just community in being around our congregation again. But there is a sense, as the psalmist describes here, of the birds coming and making a nest, of church being home. The temple being home. It's a place where you are nestling in with God, and that you have a shield around you and a comfort with you because your God is there, and there is a component of feeling the presence of God, whether that is completely recognizable or somewhat subconscious or unconscious. There is a component of your soul is touched by God just by being in the presence of the temple, of what is now the church for us. And this explains why churches historically have been really fancy. In Solomon's time, Solomon built the temple with gold as a way of symbolically demonstrating this is a precious place. This is an important, valuable place of meaning where the Lord resides. And because the Lord is present in this space, it is holy ground. And that's why that tradition was continued. Often churches in Europe are really grand. Even churches in the US, many of them are just gorgeous, are just beautiful depictions of architecture and even the materials used for churches. People spent a ton of money, often on them, as a way of trying to communicate and convey this is important space and meaningful space and a place where tangibly one can feel the presence of the Lord. Maybe not every time you walk in the doors, but notice how your soul can be soothed and caressed just by being in the space. Okay? It's a space where people have prayed and God has been present and blessings have abounded. So I think it's a great thing to resonate on the church and the physicality of its importance to us and the blessing that we receive by touching God in some way, shape, or form in that space. And for those of you who are not able to return to church anytime soon and still long for it and are missing it and wishing for it, I just encourage you to hang in there and for you to take any small moments that you can, whether they are online worship or whether they are thinking about church in your home while you pray and just resonating on God and resonating on how much God is present with you, whether it's in the elaborateness of a church and your soul being touched there, but also remember God touches you everywhere and anywhere too. So God also is present with you right now in your own homes. And so to just spend a moment and be thankful for that. Just as if your homes were made of gold, God comes and God is richly present in them as the King that God is. Enjoy the day, everybody. And may God be with you in all things. Bye-bye.